Ho ho buddies, once Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we were with Takumi. He discovered his old school essay that had Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes? He read the story about it, read the story that he'd written at a young age, and the story was about how himself travelled back in the future to talk to him about stuff. And that makes us think that Shogun is therefore an older Takumi. Maybe. A time traveller. Maybe. And on the back of the essay, there was a formula that we had a flashback that showed us that it was the first thing that Shogun had sent to Takumi in the chat log with them. And then we cut to you were talking to Ban, and Ban has just said that Takumi is not a suspect. Or at least isn't a suspect to the crucifixion case. Mainly because there were fingerprints on the cruciples, the stakes that were used to pin the body against the wall, and they did not match Takumi. Let's carry on and find out what's going on. So you was like, that can't be. That's what she's all like. Yua was turning paler by the second, her lips trembled. Now that everything she'd believed in had collapsed beneath her feet, feelings of guilt at the awful things that she'd said to Takumi encroached upon her heart.
Thanks to the fingerprints on the stakes, we almost managed to pin down a suspect. Though we haven't announced it to the public. But I'm telling you, a schoolgirl that could then easily tell all kinds of people. I should mention, it was all thanks to Sewer.
Interesting. So, while Sewer-chan is out there working his buns off, you're over here taking it easy. That poor boy.
Actually, HQ gave me the boot.
What?
The boss may or may not have found out I'd been skipping out on proper investigating, so I could look into the GE rate and whatnot.
This was the reason why his subordinate Sewer had been the one to inform him of the 7th incident. There had been no reason for anyone else to call an investigator that was no longer working the case. I can't believe you. This is exactly why you need to conduct yourself better. Well, not that I don't share some of the blame, considering that all you know of the GE rate came from me.
Don't worry about it. Besides, I was interested in it. That wasn't on you. Well, Yua-chan, I will say that, despite, outside of the crucifixion case, Nishijou has yet to be wiped off the suspect list. So it's possible your theory could still be correct.
Does that mean that the police believe New Gen isn't actually being committed by a single culprit?
Can't say for sure. Especially since the 7th case only happened a little bit ago. Me personally, I suspect there's multiple. Oops, let my lips get a little too loose there. If they found out I'd been leaking all this, I'd get canned on the spot. Hope you all won't mind keeping this off the record.
Ban playfully placed his forehead on his lip. He's really careless.
Well, how about we get to the topic at hand?
Huh? Having thought that her report had been the reason she'd been summoned, Yua tilted her head in puzzlement.
I want to ask a question about your school. Yua-chan, are you familiar with a girl named Ayoe Senna? She should be one of your classmates.
After pondering for a moment, Yua shook her head apologetically. The name sounds somewhat familiar, but I don't believe I've spoken to her before.
I see.
Do you think she's the culprit?
Nah, this is something else entirely. Part of why I pulled an all-nighter yesterday was to look into her.
So, When you mentioned the culture around high school girls, this is what you meant. Mimose, ever perplexed, received a wink and a grin from Ban before he turned back toward Yua.
Let's try this. Have you heard any rumors about a female student that's capable of some incredible magic tricks?
No, I don't think I have. I've no idea where you're going with this. What exactly is this about?
For example, a magic trick where she pulls a sword out of thin air.
Huh? Yua's head snapped upward. Her expression was one of blatant astonishment. How do you... Despite being the one to ask the question, Ban also had a look of surprise on his face.
Something come to mind?
Yua hesitated, then after a moment nodded resolutely.
Where did you see it?
An underpass. By the station. Nishijo-kun and Kishimoto-san. They were...
Furs, eh? Go on.
Yua briefly recounted her dramatic pursuit from around 2 weeks prior. How she'd gone to a manga cafe to meet Nishijo Takumi. How she'd been a little forceful when talking to him, causing him to flee. How she'd frantically chased him around Shibuya. How he'd then managed to evade her, and how, right when she was about to give up, she'd stumbled upon Takumi and Ayase entering the underpass. So I hid above the staircase and spied on them without them knowing. They were both talking about something at the bottom of the stairs. Oh, as for what they were talking about, I wasn't able to hear them very clearly, but... Suddenly, out of nowhere, Kishimoto-san pulled a sword out from thin air. It was an incredibly large sword, and it didn't look like it would fit in a bag.
You can't be serious. Sounds exactly the same as what I saw.
Huh?
But the one I saw wasn't done by Kishimoto. It was that Aoi Senna girl I was talking about. Actually, we've got eyewitness reports from all over Shibuya saying that Senna likes to stroll around with a sword.
Maybe that magic trick is a new trend among the young people of Shibuya. But what I saw, it didn't look like a magic trick at all. And... Did you catch something else? Or did she see the duplicates? I don't know if you'll believe me or not, and I haven't told anyone about this, but... Back then, Kishimoto-san, she didn't just pull out a sword. Yua's words faltered and she slowly licked her lips. Why? She looked lost on whether she should continue. Her eyes darted around the room. But eventually she steeled her resolve and fixed her gaze upon Ban. She split into two people. It was almost like there were two of them in the same place. It was just so bizarre. A heavy silence covered the reception room. All three within it were at a complete loss for words.
Regardless, while I don't know what the trick behind it is, there definitely seems to be multiple people around Shibuya that can pull off stunts pretty similar to magic tricks. Moreover, we've confirmed that Kishimoto, Ayase and Aie Sena have both made contact with Nishijo Takumi. I seriously doubt this is a coincidence.
Nishijo-kun.
Feels like nothing but surreal stuff has been following that kid.
As Ban said that, his words from the call before reappeared in his mind.
If this was just the work of monsters, magicians and wizards, this would all be so much easier.
Ban's murmur did not reach the other two. Averse to the gloomy atmosphere, Momose took a breath and sipped on the tea her subordinate had brought over to her. Then, as she brought the cup back down, she put on a smile and unceremoniously made to change the topic. By the way, Yua-chan, those frogs hanging off your bag, they're quite the fad nowadays, aren't they? Yes. Yua gave a sigh of relief, having been saved by the kind company president. What was it called again? A Giro Froggy. Weren't there a whole host of different kinds released? About 10 in total, I believe. Yes. I only got them from a friend, so I don't know much about them.
Why is it that things that are so sloppily put together get so darn popular? I mean, if we're going off raw looks here, not only am I better on the eyes, but I'm way cuter, right?
Ban-chan, save the ramblings for the bar.
I was just joking.
Well, actually, I don't really understand why they're so popular myself. Oh, well, I think they're rather adorable.
Looks like your eye for these things is on the way out, Momo-chan.
Oh, really? Doesn't it prove that I'm more in tune to the public opinion than you? You ought to buy one yourself, Ban-chan.
Where in the world would you even go to buy these things?
There's exclusive Jiro Froggy shops all over the place.
Exclusive shops?
I think you can get one on Friday if you wait in line for it.
Friday?
They, release a new design every Friday. The children that like them, want to complete their collections and they seem to be trying to collect them all. While Yua was in the midst of speaking, Ban had turned to Momose while scratching the stubble on his chin.
Friday, hey? Things you wouldn't normally expect to be popular are popular. And the GE rates increases on the weekends.
Ban-chan, you can't possibly be suggesting.
This might be worth checking out.
The second I'd poked my head into school on Thursday, Masumi-kun immediately invited me to go see Ayase in the hospital with him. Given that the idea hadn't even crossed my mind, it had caught me off guard. But before I'd even been able to respond, Rimi said she wanted to come too, for whatever reason, and I ended up being swept along with her as a result. Now, let me be clear, I had a heart and all. But considering the menace known as Shogun was drawing closer and closer to me, I didn't think this was exactly the time to show it. I didn't want to die. Coming in through the front entrance, Masumi-kun looked around the lobby in confusion. What's wrong? Well, I was just trying to figure out where Kishimoto's room was. Had he seriously come this far without knowing that? This guy was beyond belief sometimes. This is the outpatient ward. The hospital ward is next door. Shit, that right? Jaichin, get a grip already. AH Tokyo General Hospital. It was the hospital I'd gone to ever since I was a kid. I'd even come here just the other day, so I was pretty knowledgeable on where everything was. Dr. Takashina's face flashed across my mind, and I involuntarily groaned to myself. As we walked to the hospital ward, Masumi-kun turned to me. So, which of these rooms is hers? How should I know? This was a general hospital, so obviously There was obviously a ton of different wards and departments, if I had to guess. Probably not the surgery ward. But she could maybe be in the psychiatry ward. Psychiatry ward. There hadn't been any visible injuries on Iyase after she'd fallen. And considering she'd attempted suicide, her mind had likely been brought to the brink, so her being in the psychiatric ward seemed very possible. Even I'd been taken to the psych ward after the uproar at O-Front. Huh. You sure know your stuff, Taku? It's just common sense, you dog. Right, Taku? I don't think it's necessarily common sense. I might not have known if I hadn't come here so many times in the past. Right as we were entering the hospital ward, Remy ground to a halt. I need to use the bathroom real quick. You guys go on ahead. With a wave of her hand, Remy quickly headed back toward the outpatient ward. Thinking that wandering around the ward would cause problems for the patients, we decided to ask for help at the nurses' station, and just like I'd predicted, they told us that she was on the floor of the psychiatric patients. There she is. Oh, what are we doing? Green or red? We've done a lot of reds lately. Let's do a green, I guess. The hospital room had an area of around 10 square meters. There was a toilet at the to the right of the entrance, and there was a bed near the back. The setting sun shone through the window on the other side of the room. Ayase wasn't in bed. Based on how the sheets were a little messed up, it looked like she'd been there until very recently. Here we go. Where the hell's she run off to? Who knows? Well, guess we're going to wait until she gets back. The moment he said that, Asumi-kun started rummaging around the room for some reason. He didn't even have a shred of decency. Right now, it wouldn't be wrong to refer to this as Ayase's room. A number of her things were lying around, and mixed with the smell of antiseptic was that nice scent you could only find in a girl's room. Just kind of bursting into it while she wasn't there felt like we were peeping right into her private life. I didn't feel very comfortable with that. We shouldn't. We'd be better off waiting outside. I'm only taking a quick peek. Come on, don't tell me you're not curious about Fez's private life, I mean. Don't lie, man. Okay, sure. Ayase's personal life was a total mystery. Surely a quick glance wouldn't be so bad. Asumi-kun wasn't showing even an ounce of hesitation. Urged on by his bold attitude, my mind swiftly changed. I turned to look at the door to make sure no one was coming, then turned back toward the room. Feeling my heart thump hard in my chest, I started with the bed. I took hold of the slightly ruffled sheets. And then, having no idea what to expect, I gently turned them over. And what I saw was something beyond imagination. Oh god. Of course. Of course, I clicked green. What did I expect? Hidden beneath the sheets was lingerie. A full set of lingerie. A pair of purple panties was scrunched up haphazardly. They'd very clearly been taken off recently. This wasn't brand new condition. This was wholly and entirely used. And this was a private room. From that, one could only glean that Ayase was the only one who could have worn these. So smexy. I hurriedly turned to check on Masumi-kun. Unfortunately, he was too busy flipping through a magazine to have noticed my shocking discovery. I returned my glance to the underwear. I gulped. My throat was dry as a desert. My trembling fingers, almost entirely on their own, reached toward the underwear. Feeling my pulse getting quicker and quicker, I ever so softly touched them. For some reason, they felt squishy. Physical. Something wasn't quite right about this. Takumi? Those are my family jewels.
Gah!
Okay, cool. Great. I'm glad we saw that.
Check it out, Taku. There's some weird-ass stuff over here.
I suddenly realized Masumi-kun was calling me. I was standing in the corner of the hospital room. The bed sheets weren't turned over and there was obviously no sexy lingerie in sight. Whew. It's been just a delusion. Huh? It had ended with an extremely horrifying twist, so I'd make sure that memory sealed forever sealed. He'd taken a magazine from high up on the shelf and was staring at it fixedly.
It's new, man. This is crazy. I can't believe this magazine is still going.
New was a magazine that focused on all facets of the occult. UFOs, aliens, ESP, religion, urban myths, mysterious phenomena, super ancient civilizations, OOP arts, I don't know what that is, etc. It wasn't difficult at all to believe that our very own schizo shit-loving Ayase would be reading it.
And this book here, let's see, the Gladial Book of Psalms and Revelation. Must be some kind of fantasy book.
I wasn't familiar with that specific book, but the term gladial did ring a bell. Where had I heard it again? I was pretty sure it had been pretty recent.
Ugh. Does dating Kishimoto come packaged with this crazy hobby of hers? God, that'd be so annoying to deal with.
Had he still not given up on dating Ayase, even after being turned down in an instant last time? Oh, the sword. Oh yeah, there's a sword. Suddenly Ayase's D-sword came into view in the corner of my eye. It was leaning against the window. It looked like a space battleship, ripped right out of a sci-fi movie. My opinion on it hadn't really changed either. It was an awesome-looking sword, possessing equal parts beauty and cruelty. Even though it wasn't glowing, and even though it just was leaning against a window, it still had the typical impressive feeling of presence to it. Masumi-kun showed no sign of noticing the sword. Huh. So the eyes of normal people couldn't see them after all. I wonder, if I were to take it without Ayase knowing, would the sword become mine? If I could really obtain a D-sword with zero effort, then there was no time to waste here. The desire to do so bubbled up within me. With a gulp, I timidly, ever so timidly, reached out for the sword. I grasped the hilt. Or, well, I'd tried to grasp it. But my hand had gone right through it, leaving me grasping only thin air. I tried once more, but the result was no different. I couldn't grab it. I couldn't even touch it. Did that mean that the sword wasn't real booted? As mutual recognition hadn't been achieved, it was no more than Ayase's delusion. An illusion. A dream. An afterimage.
What the hell are you doing, dude?
Masumi-kun looked at me in confusion. We then waited for around 10 minutes. But Ayase still showed no sign of coming back. Same thing with Rimi. She was still in the bathroom, apparently. Where could she have actually gone?
Did Rimi know how to find this room?
Ah. We'd asked for the location at the nurse's station after Rimi had left. She could very well be wandering all throughout the hospital as we spoke, not having any idea where we were or where this place was.
She is a bit of a ditz. It might not have occurred to her to ask someone like we did.
We should look for her. I felt uneasy not being with Rimi. I couldn't say for sure, but that this hospital was safe. If Shogun were reading my mind right now, he would have known that I was here.
Good idea.
I'm getting bored of waiting. And I know you're pretty damn lonely without her around after all. Hey, give it to me straight. What's the deal with you and Remy? Huh? I'm asking if you two are going out. You've definitely been giving off the vibes recently. We aren't going out. Despite what I'd said, my face was still flushed. Me and Remy dating. It was true that I'd had delusions of that many times. I hadn't been interested in 3D in the past, but nowadays, Remy was becoming more and more important to me with every passing day. But back when Remy had said she'd stay by my side, she'd also said the following. Because we're friends, of course. In other words, she only saw me as a friend. Takumi was friend-zoned, essentially. There was no way in hell she'd want to start a romantic relationship with an otaku freak like me. Besides, Remy would probably be a bit slow on the uptake with that kind of thing. I split ways with Masumi-kun and went to look for Remy or Ryase. Masumi-kun had gone downstairs, so I decided to take my search above. Ami-chan! Where'd you go? Ami-chan! I passed by an older patient in the corridor, probably around his 50s. He was staggering down the hall while calling out to someone named Ami-chan, over and over. I ignored him and headed further into the corridor. Nobody seemed to mind me wandering around the hospital. Maybe since I'd used to come here pretty often. But for every corner I turned, and for every door I saw open, I felt my heart rate increase at the thought of Shogun appearing from them. And not only that, but the occasional crazed screams and cries coming from any number of directions weren't exactly good for my mental state. The corridor was uniformly dyed a cream colour. Some of the rooms were open, some were closed. And to make sure that there were no signs of Shogun being around, I peeked into a whole bunch of them. Each room had 2 beds lined up next to each other, with person-shaped bulges lying underneath the sheets, like sleeping patients, but their faces are always a blind spot, so I couldn't see them. They were always in a blind spot. There weren't many people walking through the corridors. Just the man calling for Ami-chan, and a single nurse. Those were the only 2 I'd passed by. I didn't really want to be here. I didn't know why, but that feeling refused to leave me. The atmosphere was heavy. It wasn't oppressive per se, but I had a nagging feeling that I shouldn't have been here. Shouldn't have been there. A little farther in front of me, the corridor made a 90-degree turn to the right. Did the hospital rooms continue through here? Through there, I wondered. As I pondered that, I cautiously turned the corner. What the fuck? And I was immediately met with a wall. It sat in the middle of my path, and in vast contrast to the entirely cream-coloured hospital, it was covered in black paint from top to bottom. A complete dead end. For some reason I didn't know, my pulse quickened. I couldn't move even a single step from where I stood. My vision wobbled and shook. Thinking it was vertigo, I tried to close my eyes and massage my eyelids with my fingertips, only to feel my eyeballs twitching beneath them. A chill as cold as ice crawled up from my feet. I stood dead in my tracks, forgetting how to even breathe. Staring at the black in front of me. It felt as if it would suck me in. As if it would swallow me whole. A deep, never-ending darkness. Even though there shouldn't have been anyone there, it felt like someone, somewhere, was watching me. God's gaze pierced into the nape of my neck. Its presence was on a completely different level compared to how it would be at my base. Don't look. Ugh. Mustering all my mental strength, I managed to close my eyes. I finally was able to breathe again, and I stepped back while gasping for breath. With my head facing down toward the ground, I fled through the corridor. I sped back to the floor with Ayase's room, gasping and wheezing all the way. I touched the nape of my neck and felt sticky sweat oozing from it. But the sweat wasn't coming from there. My entire body was drenched in it. What the hell was going on? Was Shogun reading my mind? The presence of God's gaze wouldn't go away. My wheezing and shivering refused to calm down. Exhaustion had devoured my motivation in an instant. I wanted to go home. I wanted to have Rimi take care of me as we locked ourselves in my base. It wasn't like me visiting Ayase would make her happy. If anything, it would probably do the complete opposite. I was an idiot for coming along with Masumi-kun. The guy clearly had an agenda, and it was at complete odds with me. I had no reason to be here. I should just go home. Before either Shogun or Yua appeared. They always appeared whenever I least expected it. I bet they'd pinned down where I was with ease. No matter where I was, I needed to be prepared. Tracing the wall with my hand, I staggered my way to Ayase's hospital room. Had Masumi-kun gone back yet? Hoping he'd found Rimi, I dragged my legs forward. Yamai-san was calling out to Ami-chan again. I heard the voice of a nurse coming from ahead. Looking up, I saw that two of them were talking in my direction. One was young and the other was a well-built middle-aged lady. Who on earth could he be searching for? It comes from a ghost story that's been told in this hospital for a very long time. Supposedly there's a phantom hospital room that nobody can see, and Ami-chan is hospitalized there. The rumour's been going around for years and years. I looked back down and waited for the two to pass by. I held my breath to hide my ragged breathing. I could easily tell they were going to give me suspicious looks, but they still ignored me all the same. After the two nurses passed me, I continued to continue my endeavour and arrived at the nurse's station. I must have missed Ayase's room, as it should have been a bit before. Clicking my tongue, I wiped the sweat off my forehead. It still felt like I was being watched. The depths of my chest throbbed with pain. My ears were ringing too. I felt absolutely terrible. My body was a total wreck. I hadn't felt anything like this at all when I'd first got here. What the hell had happened to me in my body? With the pain overwhelming me and becoming too much to bear, I went to ask for help from the nurses at the nurses' station. But there was only one nurse there. She didn't seem to have noticed me. Her back was turned to me and she was mumbling something while deeply absorbed in whatever she was working on. In her hand was a clipboard. She was writing something on the form stuck to it. Oopsie. Oh, hang on. May the divine light save us. What have I just missed here? Backlog. Oh, okay. May the divine light save us. 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 Oh. I've seen this person many times before. She was that one nurse, Hazuki-san. Oh, this was the AH Tokyo General Hospital's psychiatry ward. Of course she'd be here. She'd already attended to me twice in the past month alone. Oh man, this was perfect. If I called out to her, she'd surely help me with whatever I... An urgent sounding noise, a ringing noise, suddenly rang throughout the room. Azuki-san put her clipboard in surprise, put down her clipboard in surprise and operated a switch with her hand. The ringing sound was cut off. What's happening? She'd probably been paged to do some nursing thing, as she rushed out of the nurse's station in a flurry. Why hadn't she noticed me? Even though I was suffering from so much pain right behind her. I could barely stay standing, the vertigo was awful. With no other choice, I decided to go into the nurse's station to wait for someone to get back. I found a stool around where Hazuki-san had been standing, then sat down. My head ached. It felt like it felt like it had back when the earthquake hit a week ago. Oh, interesting. Okay, but this pain had a different nature to it, or so it felt anyway. I needed something to drink. Just trying to breathe hurt my throat, likely because of all the gasping and wheezing I'd been doing. I casually looked around the area. My eyes then landing upon the clipboard Hazuki-san had been holding. In the very next moment, what was scrawled on it entered my field of vision. What? Oh my god. Oh my god, okay. Crucifixion case? Huh? Whenever I'd gone in for a checkup, Hazuki-san had always been writing something on that clipboard of hers, all while having the same gentle smile on her face. I thought that she'd been writing down the prescriptions she planned on giving me, my temperature, things like that. Huh? That was why what was drawn there was beyond my comprehension. What the... I'd seen it before. I'd already seen this shittily drawn sketch somewhere before. But where? Where'd I seen it? Where was that? My head ached. A stabbing pain pierced through it. The hairs on the nape of my neck stood on end. Don't look at me. I picked up the clipboard. Countless medical forms were clipped to it. I went to flip up the page. The second piece of paper had the same shitty drawing. I flipped to the next page. The third was also the same. This is weird. And the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. Is it a delusion? Each and every one of them had the same drawing scribbled on it. Again and again and again. This drawing. I mean, of course it's that. Was the crucifixion. And on the 7th page... Whose eyes are those eyes? Was that an entire delusion? Evening fell on the roof of an old building in Shinsen. The building atop which Nishijou Takumi's container house stood, still as death. It was Ayoi Sena's second time visiting it. The first time had been a few days prior, following her encounter with Kazui and Takumi in Sentagai. She'd gone on to tell the boy in secret. Through this, the location was set in stone in her mind. Sena-shan, Kozupi doesn't think Kozupi and Sena-shan should be doing this. Kozupi hates thiefy stuff. Fumio! Why did you come with me then? Sena regarded Kozui in a cold manner, refusing to even turn around to view her sagging shoulders, nor her long face. Sena had come here to infiltrate Takumi's room. And that's where we're going to stop for this episode of Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this part of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye, bye-bye-bye-bye, bye.